What's going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday, April 28th. We're going to continue with chapter 27. I posted the vocabulary yesterday. All right, you did not have to copy that. Look at it, review it, study it. You're going to have a quiz on Thursday for the vocab itself. This is a relatively quick chapter. We'll have it done in a couple of weeks. All right, so please review that and get ready for your quiz Thursday. I will post that sometime Thursday morning or afternoon, and you'll have a couple days to complete it. So if you haven't done Chapter 25's test either, please get that into me. There are some of you that have not done it yet. Please get it in so I can count that. Remember, everything is going in Power School for the fourth quarter, so please get all grades in. What we're going to do today is we're going to focus on the beginning of Vietnam. All right, this is going to be the longest war the United States had ever fought in, and it's actually being surpassed right now by the War on Terror. All right, but we can discuss more of that when we get into chapter 29. Follow a little mouse here. All right, Vietnam is going to be the longest war the U.S. has ever fought in, and it will definitely be one of the most divided. We can compare this to the War on Terror a little bit when we get to chapter 29, like I said, but for now, you don't really have to worry about it. And the way we're going to break down Vietnam is kind of the same way we're going to break down Korea. All right, if you remember Korea. We'll get you a better picture. There we go. Let's go back. All right, Vietnam, right here. Here's Vietnam. Okay, right here. Here's Korea, right here. You can see North Korea. Here's South Korea. Communist North Korea, Democratic South Korea. All right, we're focusing on the Cold War here. The Cold War. We're sticking in the Cold War. All right, Communist Soviet Union against the Democratic United States. The Truman Doctrine, containment. All right, not spreading communism. We're actually going to talk a little bit more about that shortly. You will see in these maps currently, because they're current maps, all right, Vietnam is one country. Okay, it's one country. All right. However, when you look right here, you have a North Vietnam and you have a South Vietnam. All right. When the United States started to get involved in Vietnam in 1954, communist controlled up here, Democratic government controlled down here. All right. It's the same concept as North Korea. All right. North Vietnam was threatening South Vietnam. South Vietnam didn't want to become communist. So they asked the United States to help. And under President Eisenhower, through President Kennedy, through President Johnson, and through President Nixon, 4 presidents this is going to involve, we try to protect South Vietnam, all right, until eventually the United States will get out of Vietnam and it'll quickly become one country. And we'll get into more of that later on. Okay, a lot of notes here. All right, the biggest thing to understand is what's known as the Domino Theory right here. All right, that's going to be a very important note, very important concept. All right, it's going to be on your quiz, it'll be on your test. All right, it's the same concept kind of containment, and it basically meant that if one nation in that region in Southeast Asia became communist, other nations were going to fall to communism. And they call it the Domino Theory because if you play dominoes, not the actual game of dominoes, but if you just stack dominoes where you knock one down and everything else falls down, that's the concept here. Okay, that if one country fell, everybody else was going to fall to communism in that region. So the United States and the Americans are going to say, all right, if we can stop communism in Vietnam, maybe we can stop communism completely in that region. Okay, it's not going to go well. All right, North Vietnam is going to be controlled by Ho Chi Minh. I'll show you him in a second. South Vietnam is going to be controlled by Ngo Dinh Diem. All right, he's the president of South Vietnam. He's the communist leader of North Vietnam. North Vietnam will invade South Vietnam. And because of that, okay, the United States is going to have to come and help defend Vietnam. Remember, Domino Theory, right here. This is so important. The entire chapter. The containment of communism. Stop communism. If the United States could stop communism from spreading to South Vietnam, then maybe we could stop it in the entire region. Okay? This is a picture of the Domino Theory. Here you have a Vietnamese soldier knocking down Vietnam. The fear was if Vietnam fell, so would Laos, so would Cambodia, Thailand, Burma, Indonesia, Bangladesh, etc., etc. All right, and the only one holding up those dominoes is the American soldier. Okay, so this becomes the theory, the philosophy in Vietnam. Contain communism, stop it from spreading due to the domino theory. It's very, very important to understand that. Okay, again, another political cartoon. This is a bigger one. All right, here's the USSR, the Soviet Union, knocking down countries in that region, meaning taking them over. And the fear is Laos, Vietnam, Taiwan, Korea, the Philippines, Japan, Canada. Could they get to the United States? Okay, remember, this is the Cold War. This is the fear of communism, the fear of the Soviet Union. Okay, so this was a real fear that they had. This is going to be the leader of North Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh. We're going to talk a lot about him later. This is the president of South Vietnam. All right, the United States will be an ally to him for a little bit, and then we're not. That's a conversation for another day. Here is that president meeting with President Eisenhower. And this is a very famous photo. Communist leader of North Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh. Communist leader of China, Mao Zedong. Communist leader of the Soviet Union, Nikita Khrushchev. 3 communist nations against 2 democratic nations. Okay? When Eisenhower leaves office, President Kennedy is going to come in, and he's going to kind of continue what Eisenhower does. President Eisenhower doesn't send the military; he sends advisors. He sends government officials to help South Vietnam. Kennedy will increase that, or escalate, a vocabulary word. All right, he's going to send more money and more advisors. Okay, ultimately, President Diem of South Vietnam is going to be assassinated. All right, and the military takes control of the government, and chaos starts breaking out. At the same time, Kennedy gets assassinated. We'll talk more about that in chapter 26. So the new president, Lyndon Johnson, takes over. Okay, and Vietnam becomes the center of his administration. All right, South Vietnam is being invaded by North Vietnam. We have to contain communism. Domino theory. President Johnson takes over, and after 10 years of really just sending advisors and money, Johnson has to send the military. I'm going to talk a lot about that in the next couple of days. President Eisenhower, okay, he will send advisors and money. President Kennedy will send more advisors and money. President Johnson will ultimately send the military 1964, 1965. All right, we're going to talk more about those presidents. So we'll get into Richard Nixon later because he's the president who will end the war in Vietnam. All right, but for right now, the key part of why did we get involved in Vietnam? A couple of definitions: containment, communism, the domino theory. Okay, the Cold War. This was Korea Part 2. If we can stop North Vietnam from invading South Vietnam, maybe we can stop the spread of communism, Truman Doctrine, domino theory. Unfortunately for the United States, it doesn't end the way the Korean War did. And we'll talk more about that when we get into Section 3, Section 4, about the end of this. All right? But those are the notes for today. Domino theory. Why'd we get involved in Vietnam? What presidents got us involved? Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson. Okay. Again, focusing more on that domino theory. I'm going to post up the notes. I'll post up a worksheet for you to do. You can submit that on the Google Docs as always, and get it back to me. And then tomorrow we'll just pick up more into Vietnam, and then ultimately for your quiz on Thursday. So please watch the video. Email me, text me if you have any questions. Stay safe and healthy. Continue your hard work. I appreciate it, and I'll be talking to you tomorrow.